All right. Hello, everyone. And I'm so excited to have you here today because I want to talk about willpower. And this time of the year is a really important time to talk about that because New Year's resolution is only a few weeks away, and it's something that people can often have troubles with. And so I invited Surinder Gill to join me and to have a conversation around this because I know he has some great insights that he can share with you. So thank you, Surinder, for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. This is like a great topic, I think, and it's very timely. Um,
Hmm.
so, New Year's resolutions, or even at other times of year when people decide that they want to resort to willpower to change a habit, for example, smoking, just because I deal with a lot of smokers and I've helped a lot of people quit smoking.
Hmm.
Or it could be, health goals, weight loss, starting a business, stopping procrastinating, any of those things. I think that one of the main reasons why people fail is because they're focused too much on the behavior and less on what the meaning is that they're assigning to that life event
Yep.
that causes that behavior in the first place,
Yeah,
right?
it's exactly the conversation I had because I did a presentation yesterday in my BNI group and basically talking about how meaning is what drives our behavior. And so many people want to try and change the behavior using willpower, but if you don't change the meaning, over time the behavior just goes back to what you were initially doing. So,
Yeah.
how can you help people, or how do we help people kind of step away from that and start to change that meaning that they've assigned there?
Yeah. Great question. So the first step, I think, is to figure out our filters.
Mhm.
Maybe not all of our filters, but at least understanding the idea that we have filters. So what I mean by that is what precedes the meaning is always going to be the internal representation that's created here.
Mhm.
Internal representation just being how do you present that information to your mind in the form of a picture, because we only have five senses, right? We see things, we hear things, we feel things physically and emotionally, and we smell and taste things. So we have to put things through these input channels, and then we have to create something to represent the meaning up here. So, from an NLP perspective, as you know, we call that an IR, or an internal representation. Um,
Mhm.
and then we go into, well, we have an emotional state. We don't necessarily go into it, but we have an emotional state. And when we take the internal representation and we blend it with the state that we're in, that's what produces the meaning.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if we're in a negative state, well, we could produce a meaning that reflects that negative state. If we're feeling really happy or positive or confident, well, then we'll assign a different meaning potentially. Why? Because the state's different.
Mhm.
And but what precedes that? What is happening before we take our state and blend it with the internal representation? Well, what's happening before that is information is coming into our brain through our filtering system. So, I mean, it's not a physical filter, although it does kind of help, I think, to visualize it in that way. Just imagine that you have a filter and
Mhm.
imagine that all information has to go through that filter before it goes into your head,
Yeah.
into your mind, into your brain. And the role of that filter is to delete information that your brain feels is not pertinent to you, um, to generalize information so that we don't have to start from scratch every time we deal with a new stimulus, because it would be impossible to navigate the world if we had to do that.
Mhm.
And then finally distorting that information to make it fit the narrative that we already have in our unconscious mind.
Yeah.
Um, this is a confirmation bias, right?
Mhm.
So that's where, it's a long-winded way of answering your question. What do we do about it? Well, we have to figure out what this is, where it came from, so that we can change it, right? Because if we can change it and make it go from that to this, well, now we're going to create a different internal representation.
Yeah. And an example I always give, and I'm gonna ask you to share your example that I found useful too, but when you look outside and you're looking for a new car, and it's funny because I was driving to this event that I was gonna talk at yesterday, and what's in front of me but a Nissan Rogue. And that's the example that I always give is you're looking for a new car, and okay, you're looking for a Nissan Rogue, and all of a sudden you see Nissan Rogues everywhere around you. And it's not that Ford stopped making pickup trucks. It's not that Toyota recalled all their vehicles. It's not that all the other cars that we know are out there disappeared. It's just because you're focusing on that, you're seeing it everywhere. And I love the interpretation that we basically see people argue on the actual number here. Some say like 2 billion, some say like 10 million. It really doesn't matter. It's a lot
Yeah.
ultimately. And it's that we can only take on about 7 bits at one given time. And so if you're looking for Nissan Rogues, you're seeing them everywhere. And I know you had an example around roof racks as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was oh, you remember that, huh?
Yeah.
Probably because you've heard it from me a couple of times. So yeah, my family and I have 3 children, and my wife and my 3 kids, we go skiing a fair bit in the wintertime. We go to a nearby mountain, and we had a minivan. So we would put all our skis in the back of the minivan and then jam in all of our bags. It wasn't so bad if we're only going for the day trip, but as soon as you're staying for a couple of nights, it became like there just wasn't enough room. And I wanted to get a different vehicle that was all-wheel drive.
Mhm.
So the problem with getting an SUV and going from minivan is you limit the amount of cargo space inside. So I bought a Thule, as people refer to them, and that's the brand name, but it's the roof rack, that you put that you see where you can put your skis and your ski boots and so on above on the roof, save space inside. And the very first time we drove to the mountain after I bought one of these roof carriers, I saw them everywhere. And when my wife commented too, and she said, "Oh my God, they're," because I said something, and she goes, "You know what? I've been noticing that as well. I can't believe it's like there was a sale on these things or something." But we both know that that's not what happened at all. It's just that when we hadn't even considered buying one because we had space in the minivan and we weren't looking at a new vehicle yet, it just, it got deleted because it wasn't
Exactly.
pertinent to our life.
Yeah.
But as soon as I have one and I'm thinking, I know it was tight. I know I put it on right, but I've never driven with one before. So there's even a little bit of stress about that. Like, and going into the parking garage, I got to be mindful that this thing's on the roof. So my mind is on it. And because my mind was on it, I was seeing them everywhere. I was seeing them all over the place. Right.
And there's some
So that's exactly what that is.
I forget who it is, but says when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's the same
Uh,
thing that's happening
Wayne
right here.
Dyer, I believe. I could
Yes,
be wrong, but I think Wayne Dyer said that.
I think you're right. And when you're focusing on something that changes things, so how can people help use this when it comes to, like you said, the weight loss or the stop smoking? And how can we change our filters so that we can start noticing and bringing in different information?
Yeah. Well, there's many things that we can do, but the place to start, especially with the example you gave for weight loss, in my opinion, is focus on what you want instead of focusing on what you don't want. Because many times when people set goals, they don't realize they're doing this, but what they're actually doing is they're identifying their goal based on distancing themselves from all of the things that they don't want in their life
Mhm.
that will happen if they don't get their goal.
Yep.
So if it's a weight loss goal, they might say, well, I want to lose weight because I don't want to be uncomfortable in my clothes.
Mhm.
I don't want to be embarrassed at the pool party. I don't want to not be able to play tennis anymore. And so they'll list all the things that they don't want, thinking that that's going to motivate them. The problem with that is it fixates them on what they don't want. And their unconscious mind, all of us operate this way. Our unconscious mind doesn't know how to negate that for us. So, whatever we're thinking about, our unconscious mind thinks that's what we want.
Mhm.
And then it goes after it with a vengeance. And so we have set a goal that but we can't achieve it because our unconscious mind thinks we want the opposite of that goal.
Yeah, and I've seen that with my own with health journey as well, when I was focused on, like, I don't wanna deal with MS anymore. I don't wanna deal with symptoms, and all of a sudden, "Oh, look, there's a symptom. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one." It's like the unconscious mind proves or gives you evidence of what you focus on the most. And so if you're
Yeah.
focusing on what you don't want and then getting pissed off because those things are showing up for you, it's like putting into your GPS where you don't wanna go and then getting frustrated and annoyed when you end up where you don't wanna be. And so
Oh,
shifting that
yeah.
perspective is huge, because
Yeah.
focus on what you want and then be amazed if you want or just, "Okay, cool," when the things that you're focused on are showing up, right?
Yeah. Your GPS example is a really good one because what you're really doing when you're fixating on what you don't want is you're telling your unconscious mind that once I eliminate enough of the things that I don't want, well, then the thing that I do want must appear. The problem is that the list of things that you don't want is unlimited.
Mhm,
So that's the challenge. So, if you had five places, five addresses that you could punch into your GPS, well, then punching in the four addresses of the place that you don't want to go to actually would make sense because it wouldn't take very long to end up in the wrong four places. I suppose if they were far enough away, maybe. But if they were in the little town that you live in or something, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because you just eliminate the four and then you would end up at the fifth.
mhm.
But it's it's unlimited. So you're
Yeah.
never going to get to your goal, is what that example tells me. You're never going to get there. You are just going to keep putting new places, new things that you don't want in that place where your focus is as you eliminate the other things that you don't want.
Mhm. And one of the questions I had yesterday when I did this presentation, very similar to what we're talking about today, and focusing on shifting from the place of focusing on the direction that you don't want to go to the direction that you do want to go, and realizing that meaning creates behavior and behavior creates the outcome and the results that you have. How does someone learn to know what the meaning is that they're assigning to something? Like, how does someone change that?
Well, one is to just pause in that moment and ask the question of yourself, what is this meaning that I'm assigning?
Mhm.
Right? Because
Yeah.
just listen to the language. What is the meaning that I'm assigning? It tells you that there is no inherent meaning in anything that's happening, that you are the one that's assigning the meaning. And if you're assigning a meaning that's going to lead to poor results because of poor behavior, um, then wouldn't it be better to just assign a better meaning right then and there in that moment versus waiting a week, a month, a year, or whatever, and then looking back at that event and saying, "Oh God, it didn't really mean that at all.
Mhm.
I just thought that it did, but in hindsight, I don't think it meant that." Well, now it's too late
Yeah.
because you've already exhibited the behavior and you already produced a poor result. So the ultimate goal, and I mean, the people that come to my NLP practitioner trainings, as you know, because you've done it,
Mhm.
they really, really get this in a big way. And they start producing better results in their life right away. And there's many reasons for it. But honestly, I think probably half of the reason, and you can tell me if you agree with this, 50% of the reason is probably that they're able to catch themselves in real time when their mind is going down that path of assigning a poor meaning and they're able to change course. Not a week later, not a month later, not a year later, but right in the moment.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that, and even looking back on, like I said, I've had health challenges in the past, and I spent a lot of time placing everything outside of myself. All of the reason why I had the problems I did, I blamed God, I blamed the universe, I blamed my family, I blamed medicine, and everything was outside of me. So if everything that's causing this is outside of me, the solution is out here as well. And so if you're placing meaning on the fact that something outside of you is gonna come save you, it's you're basically handing your remote control of your life to someone outside of you. And when you
Yeah.
can realize that, like, "Oh, okay, so if I assign a different meaning here, things could change." It's like so much personal power we can take back when it comes to getting to a different outcome from where we are now. And that's one of the biggest things I've found super beneficial and powerful when it comes to NLP and helping clients with this stuff, is helping them realize that, like, they have so much more input and say over what happens in their lives and to them, I guess, for
Mhm.
them, whatever you wanna call it, than they probably ever thought they did, which is pretty cool to see
Oh, yeah.
people discover. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, when we talk about the filing cabinet, Kate, we're really talking about our own life in
Mhm.
how we've perceived information through our senses. And you've heard me describe this before in training, is when we reframe our filing cabinet and we take the files that are in there that are not working for us and we scribble all over them and we replace them with better files and nice
Yep.
pictures and beliefs that we want to have, well, then our life's going to improve. And at the same time, we are still assigning meanings based on our filing cabinet,
Mhm.
albeit a better one. It's still our filing cabinet. But there is something else beyond that as well, right? Which is why and you're coming to this as well, my spiritual retreat.
Mhm.
For those of you that are listening that are wondering what we're talking about, there's level one, which is NLP practitioner training. Then there's master practitioner, which is level two. And then level three is where we talk about the things that are not really um, pertaining to our personal filing cabinets anymore, more pertaining to the collective filing cabinet that exists amongst all people, right? Universal wisdom. And then what we can do is we can start assigning meanings by, divination, by looking at something that doesn't exist in our filing cabinet and accepting that maybe there is another reality. Why do I have to only believe the things that I can touch, smell, taste, hear and feel?
Mhm.
Right? There are other things that are happening. And if we start to adopt some of those philosophies, we can always adopt them for a short time and then test the results. That's what I did.
Yep.
And the results are in. So now the way I look at it is when you test something and you get really, radically better results in your life, and it's consistent and you can produce those results consistently over and over again to the point where you now recognize that it's not a coincidence. Well, then doesn't that mean that that new way of thinking is true? What
Yeah,
else could it possibly mean?
yeah. Which is very cool to start to explore and understand because many of us live in this, like, very narrow kind of, "These are the only things that are available for us, and this is just how things are gonna be for the rest of my life, and I have to accept that," and really starting it to expand that and explore what else is possible is pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
when it comes to, like, what's kind of a key message that you'd like to leave with people today?
Key message. I think the key message that just kind of came to me actually as you said that was that we tend to see things in dichotomies. Like it has to be this way or it has to be this way. If this doesn't happen, well, then this won't happen. But those dichotomies, we're not born with them, right? We learn by comparison because when we're born into this life, we instantly start to see how we are separate from other things.
Mhm,
And when I say other things, I mean everything really that has a beginning and an ending, you know? Um, and if like say for example, if when you were born, you saw like a little dark shadow in front of your eyes because there's something wrong with your eyes, let's say.
mhm,
I'm making that up. I have no idea if that's an actual real condition, but just something. And then if you went to the eye doctor and he said, "Do you see like a dark shadow?" If you were born with it and that's all you've ever seen, you would say no,
hmm,
because you wouldn't know that other people don't see it.
right. Huh,
So it's the only thing that you know. And so then it starts to feel normal. So once we come into this life and we start to differentiate ourselves from other things, that's the dual nature of life, right? It's like there's me, and then there's the other person. There's me, and then there's my community. There's me, and then there's the physical chair that I'm sitting on. And once we get up high enough to where we all came from, right? That whatever you want to call that, you can put as many names. Some people might say God, other people might just say infinite wisdom. Some people say the light,
yep.
whatever it is. When you're there, and you can take yourself there, when you're there, all dichotomies dissolve.
Hmm,
None of them are real. They don't exist, right? So the thought that I'd like to leave you with is that anytime you feel trapped and you think, well, if it's not done my way, then we're going to do this, and you start giving people in your life ultimatums, consider just closing your eyes, taking a few deep breaths, and just imagining what it's like to go up to that place and then look down at that thing that you were convinced can only work one of two ways. Tell me how you feel about it then.
interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool, and then looking at it from a different perspective, right? Take yourself
Oh,
outside of the situation. Huh,
yeah.
very
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting.
This is an actual I mean, we can't do it now. Obviously, we don't have time, but this is something that it's a real technique. Actually, if anybody was interested in learning it or wanted to do it, I mean, it's your group. I'd be more than happy to. I don't have a link or anything set up, but they could reach out to me, and I'd be happy to hop on a call. It'd have to be quick, but we can do it in like 15 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. We'll put a link in the, like, show notes for this, or I guess not show notes because this is just a live, but in the comments for this, and if you're interested in that, you can either click on that or you can send me a DM and I'll connect you with Surinder. Because yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, and it's a pretty powerful technique. So, yeah.
It is, yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, I don't know how many I can do. I should say that as well, because I mean, I do have a schedule and it
Mhm.
gets pretty packed. I have no idea how big your community is or if I'm going to get inundated, but I mean, I could probably take four or five or something like that over the next 3 weeks without any trouble.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This has
Oh,
been
thank
awesome,
you. It's a lot of
and
fun.
I'd be happy to do more of these as well. This has been great.
Yeah,
So,
awesome.
hope everyone has a great day, and thanks for checking this out and joining us, and I will talk to you all soon.